everyone, Wayne Motts, the President Emeritus and historian at the Gettysburg Foundation. A beautiful sunny day on the Gettysburg Battlefield, July 3rd, 1863, at Cemetery Ridge at what we call the Angle, and the guns behind me belonging to Lieutenant Alonzo Cushing of Battery A of the 4th United States Artillery Regiment. This small marker right here dedicated to the memory of Lieutenant Cushing, who died here in the Battle of Gettysburg, and he will be the focus this morning. He'll be the focus today of our Wall of Faces video for our Union soldier here for July 3rd, 1863. So what do we know about Cushing? Cushing's born January 19, 1841. He actually shares a birthday with Robert E. Lee, the commanding general of the Confederate Army here in the Battle of Gettysburg, and also with Edgar Allan Poe. So he's 22 years old here in the Battle of Gettysburg. He's a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. And in the Battle of Gettysburg, he will be in command of 6 pieces of artillery here for July 3rd. Now, this unit is wrecked basically in the cannonade on July 3rd. Many of the guns are disabled. There's a shell that goes into one of the caissons and limbers and explodes. And Cushing is wounded here prior to his death in the shoulder and in the groin, and he asked permission to remain with his guns here in the Battle of Gettysburg. Let's take a walk and let's go a little forward over here, because the guns are actually a little forward. These are probably where the guns were abandoned later on, but let's walk a little forward here. So on July 3rd, we won't go all the way down there because we're going to move over here in just a second, but on July 3rd, 2 of Cushing's guns, 2 guns belonging to Cushing's battery, we believe, there's sources for different ones, are actually pushed forward right up to where that wall is. And when the Confederates attack here on July 3rd, 1863, and the Confederates are near where the wall is, Cushing is being held up by the first sergeant of the battery, Sergeant Frederick Fugger, working these guns while he's wounded here on July 3rd, 1863, when a rifle bullet strikes him in the open mouth and goes out the back of his head, killing him instantly. For the action here at Gettysburg on July 3rd, Cushing will later posthumously be awarded the Medal of Honor. He's actually the last Medal of Honor of 64 here in the Battle of Gettysburg that's awarded in 2014 by President Barack Obama. And Cushing has brothers in military service. His brother, William Barker Cushing, was a naval officer, one of the youngest of his grade, who helped sink the Confederate ironclad, the Albemarle. He also had a brother that died fighting the Indians after the American Civil War. All right, we just finished our Union figure for our Wall of Faces video. That was Lieutenant Alonzo Cushing, killed here July 3rd, 1863. Now we're going to do the Confederate counterpart, and he fell wounded right over near here. And this is the memorial to Louis Armstead. So let's just walk a little close to it. General Armstead commanded the Confederate brigade that pierced and broke through the Union line, and our figure today for the Confederate Wall of Faces figure complimenting Cushing is the man that attacked him on July 3rd, 1863, Lieutenant Colonel Raleigh W. Martin. Martin was born in 1835 in September, so he's 27 and a half years old here in the Battle of Gettysburg. He's a native of Pennsylvania County, Virginia, which is down near the North Carolina border, Chatham, Virginia, and he goes to medical school, becomes a doctor, graduate of medical school in 1860 from New York. And here's a man that could have gone into Confederate military service if he had chosen to do so as a doctor, because he was a trained doctor, but he decided to enter the military service and become a rifle commander. So he actually enters service as an officer in the Chatham Grays, the 53rd Virginia, and he will become the captain of that unit, and at the Battle of Gettysburg he will be lieutenant colonel of the 53rd Virginia. Standing on Seminary Ridge behind me, about a mile or so right before Pickett's charge on July 3rd during the cannonade, the colonel, William Aylett of the 53rd Virginia, is wounded, and that circumstance will place Raleigh W. Martin in command for July 3rd. And on July 3rd at 3 o'clock, his unit, the 53rd Virginia, will be one of 5 regiments in Lewis Armstead's brigade. And Armstead and Martin will fall very close to one another. Raleigh Martin gets all the way over here. He's near Armstead when a rifle bullet strikes him in both legs, and he will go down. He'll be in the hospital. He'll be taken prisoner of war. He'll be exchanged right at the end of the war and does some light duty work. After the Civil War, he'll go back to Chatham, where he will be a family doctor, and he doesn't die until 1912. I was on tour once with a group of people that were from this area, and I brought Raleigh Martin up as a story, and one of the people on a tour I took on the Gettysburg Battlefield told me that his mother was delivered when she was born by Dr. Raleigh W. Martin. Just shows you that the Civil War isn't that far away. So Dr. Martin survives the Battle of Gettysburg, commanding the 53rd Virginia in Pickett's charge, wounded here right next to Armstead, and he's the only regimental commander of Armstead's 5 regiments to survive the Battle of Gettysburg, dying in 1912 and buried in Chatham, Virginia. So now you've heard our Wall of Faces segment for today. Lieutenant Alonzo Cushing of Battery A, 4th United States Artillery, and Lieutenant Colonel Raleigh W. Martin of the 53rd Virginia Volunteer Infantry Regiment. If you like these videos, please follow us on social media. There's a little button down at the bottom of the screen, at the right-hand corner of the screen. Run your cursor over it and hit subscribe, and keep up with all this great content. Thanks for joining us.